All right, hey, Shalom. I want to begin by giving all glory and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechakodash. Double honors to our beloved elders and apostles of great millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. And shalom to all the Aki and pushing this truth with sincerity. It's your brother Ataza one from the GMS Columbus, Ohio branch. Coming back again with another video through the Spirit, Lord willing and edifying. And really just going to be a quick video, a quick hit. All right. And through the Spirit, I was just meditating on, boxing and, sports. All right. Glory on this world. And, for me, man, being young, me and my youngest brother, we always wanted to be, boxers and, we was into the Rocky films and wanted to fight. Seeing that type of glory on the camera, which I feel, pertaining to this world, being a heavyweight champion or elite boxer is some of the best glory and fame you can have here. All right. And, I'm just speaking as a man, really, because I like to fight. I like to, get down, whatever you want to call it. Or just, as a hobby, things of that nature. Just growing up, that's what we did. And I was just sitting here meditating on it. All in all, just people who have received glory, okay, in this life, okay, in this time period, throughout the generations, going back to, even, Rome, all right, the Colosseums, men who are renowned, for their might, their fighting capabilities, even, war generals, so on and so forth. And the Spirit just hit me like, man, all this glory that people obtained in this world, when the kingdom of heaven is established, they're going to wish that they were doing what we were doing, And I was just sitting here thinking about it because, the flesh hits you like, man, I wish I, grew up boxing like I wanted to, and, I wish I could have, what I'm saying? I wish I could have, what I'm saying? Them things happen. All right. And the Spirit hit me and I had to rebuke myself. I'm like, man, listen, bro, you doing something that in the kingdom of heaven, people are going to wish they did. In the kingdom of heaven, people aren't going to be remembered for their boxing capabilities, for how many, people they killed, in wars or whatever the case may be. All right. Those who are going to be glorified and magnified real quick are going to be those who stood stiffly for the Heavenly Father and His Son. All right. Those are going to be the new renowned men in the earth. All right. Which we were renowned of old. Okay. Ultimately, if we be of that number. But we're going to be the true celebrities in the kingdom. We're going to receive the true glory from Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. The only glory that really matters, man. Because all the other, people who have obtained glory on this side, on this side, all right, are chasing a vain glory. Okay. Real quick, let's just get into it. 2 Esdras 2:42. It says, I, Ezra, saw upon the Mount Zion a great people whom I could not number. And they all praise Yahweh with songs, right? This is going to be a feast, all right, that's going to be exclusive only to the elect, all right, beginning with the 144,000. Those men are going to be crowned, for their labors, for their acts, for their duties, their might, all right, concerning how they, combated, against the powers that be, all right, stood stiffly for the Lord, may have been martyrs, all right, preached and teached and prophesied day in and day out, slandered, okay, persecuted, so on and so forth. Those men, this feast, all right, is for those men, all right, and ultimately, the large multitude as well, all right, which pertain, or make up the 1/3 as well. Okay, that feast is for them. That glory is for them. That's going to be an exclusive party, all right, that everyone's not going to attend. All right, so the people who are magnified on this level, are going to be low level in the kingdom. All right, of course they're going to have inheritance. They're going to be on a level in the sense of, being Israelites compared to the other nations. But amongst the nation of Israel in itself, we understand there's going to be rank. Okay, and rank in order, man. All right, and you're going to just have your common Israelites, your citizen Israelites, if you will. Like I said, again, they're going to, obtain the blessings and, inheritance, through, the loins of the men they come out of. But all in all, those who are going to be magnified and sit closest to Yahweh Shai are going to begin with the 144,000. All right. And a large multitude following behind them. All right, those are going to be the new celebrities, the elite, all right, of the nation. Real quick, let's just jump to Zechariah real quick. And we'll jump back to that Zechariah. Salakia. What's it? 12 and 8. Zechariah 12 and 8. It says, "In that day shall Yahweh defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David." Right? Shall be as David. He shall be beloved. All right. He's gonna have glory. He's gonna have power. He's gonna have status. Okay. But here's the order. "In the house of David shall be as the Most High," or Shalaki, as the Elohim, as the angel of Yahweh before them. Right. So, those who comprise of the tabernacle of David. All right. Who make up the house of David. Those who the mighty men. So on and so forth. All right. Who sit closest to the king, which ultimately that king is going to be Yahweh Shine that day, are going to be as the Elohim. All right, so we're going to, Lord will, I'm of that number. And I say we, hoping that I make it and am part of that feast and part of that number. Lord willing, 144,000. All right, if it be the Lord's will. But, we in that day, okay, are going to be as the Elohim. We're going to have a different glory, a different splendor to us, man. We're going to be literally the governing body. All right, just like in any kingdom, you have your citizens. And then you have your governing body, those who rule over the affairs, or the things that are happening in the midst of that kingdom. All right, we're going to be a part of that, Lord willing, that governing body, councils, and world building, city building. All right, country building, so on and so forth. We're going to be a part of that council. All right, and not only that, just having a different glory about us. Concerning the body, so on and so forth, people want to know, like, oh, he's one of them. He's one of the 144,000 from the tribe of, so and so. All right. So you're going to have commoner Israelites. Like I said, again, they're going to have an inheritance. All right. But they're not going to have the access that we will have, man. We're going to be renowned in that day. They're going to, of course, what I'm saying, like I said, they're going to have status, so on and so forth. They're going to be known in their respective, regions or provinces, whatever the case, But when we come around, it's going to be a whole nother level. All right. It's going to be a whole nother level, man. You see? But jumping back, and then we're going to grab some in 1 Corinthians, the 9th chapter, and then call it that. Like I said, I was just sitting here thinking, like, man, the things that, the flesh wants and that a lot of people want, the glory that people want here, when the kingdom of heaven is established, they're going to wish they were in a position that we are in now. And that's something we got to remember, Hakeem, that we're not missing out on anything. People going to do the same way people wish they were LeBron James and, this and that. Those same LeBron Jameses and Terrence Crawfords and Canelos and whoever you will, they're going to wish they were us, Verses 43, 2 Edges 2:43 says, "In the midst of them there was a young man of a high stature, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly." See, that crowning ceremony, man, the true crown, because the crown that these people, seek after, like I said, just thinking of boxing, the belts, all right. WBO, you know what I'm saying? WBC, so on and so forth, being undisputed, this and that, 3-weight class champion, this and that, whatever the case may be. All right. All those things pertain to corruptible things. All right. Because when you think about it, on the physical, concerning the thermonuclear missiles and, the fire that's going to protrude in Babylon the Great, all those things are going to be burnt up. All right, because they're just made up of elements and vainglory. Now, although it's mighty, don't get me wrong. All right, it's a heavy portion, here in America, Babylon the Great. All right, on U.S. soil, if you will, whatever. Okay, but in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of existence, the only crown that matters is the crown that will be presented unto us, all right, via Yahweh Shai, because that crown is incorruptible. That crown is eternal, immortal. Okay, we're going to be clothed with something. We're going to be clothed with a glory that will never, ever diminish, never fade away. You see? But anyways, let's get this real quick. First Corinthians, this is the 9th chapter. Thought I had it up. Where we at? I know I'm in the right chapter. Oh man, here we go. Slide ain't trying to work. Let's get the exact point. 1 Corinthians 1:25. Let's start up a little bit because, Paul always reference, the Roman games, the Olympics, if you will. All right. And let's go A and P. Let's see what it says. 1 Corinthians 9:22, it says, to the weak I became as the weak, to win the weak. I have become all things to all men, so that I may be by all means, in any and every way, save some by leading them to faith in Yahweh Shai. Right, so Paul fulfilled different roles, all right, in order to win souls, all right, and lead them to Hamashiach. Verse 23, it says, and I do all this for the sake of the gospel, so that I may share in its blessing along with you. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run their very best to win, but only one receives the prize? Run your race in such a way that ye may seize the prize and make it yours, right? For us, all right? This truth, man, it's a marathon, all right? It's like a game, something, what I'm saying? And again, it all coincides, man, like I said today, boxers, track athletes, basketball stars, whatever, they ran their race here on this side, all right, on the carnal side, and obtain glory. We're running this race on the spiritual side, trying to obtain, a spiritual reward. Okay, that's going to be eternal. Verse 25, it says, now every athlete who goes into training and completes in the games is disciplined and exercises self-control in all things. They do it to win a crown that withers, but we do it to receive an imperishable crown that cannot wither. You see? Because again, when you look at it, and I looked this up real quick because it shows the significance, all right, of this verse concerning the physical, all right, aspect of the crowns, pertaining to the 1 Corinthians, the 9th chapter. All right. Just an AI overview says the corruptible crown refers to a temporary physical laurels like pine or olive reefs, right? Because real quick, let me see. Let's go to images, see what it says. Of course, we know what a crown looks like, but let's look up a Roman crown, then we'll jump back. Let's see, Roman crown of leaves. Right, you see, these will be like, pretty much, significant to, Roman crowns. All right. And, I'm assuming that after, whoever was a victor, they will receive one of these. All right. Let's go back, some to that degree. Because like it says like pine or olive reefs awarded to winners of ancient athletic games, right? Just like you got now. You got rings, all right, basketball stars, NFL stars, all right, boxers, they get belts, all right, Hall of Fame jackets, just something to commemorate their glory, all right, and their rewards on this side, again. But like I said, those things are corruptible crowns, all right, crowns that wither away, that not, don't really hold no real value. And like I said, the grand scheme of existence, all right, in the narrative in the movie of the Heavenly Father, the true crown is that spiritual crown, all right, received by Yahweh Shai, okay, because it's going to be imperishable as it is written. It says, awarded to winners of ancient athletic games representing fleeting earthly fame, you see, and rewards that fade. Mentioned by Paul in 1 Corinthians 9 and 25, it contrasts with the incorruptible, eternal spiritual reward of heavenly lasting recognition, you see, for faithful service, all right? Reward of heavenly lasting recognition for faithful service. It may be the title of this video, all right? Eternal recognition for faithful service. It might be the title. All right. You see, because like I said, all those who are celebrities here, who obtained, great fame, riches, different crowns in the form of, like I said, rings, so on and so forth. All right. That is, just for a moment. OK, it's all in vain. Like I said, it is a type of glory. You do be like, damn, man, that shit tight. See Jake, knock a nigga out, then get on the top ropes, and you know what I'm saying? He's like, shit. All right, but how much more us and our feast, our crowning ceremony, our reward, all right, that's going to be spoken about from generation to generation to generation throughout all of eternity, man. Okay, let's read some of these bullet points. It says, context used as a metaphor for a dedication and self-discipline temperance athletes showed for temporary victory. These were actually perishable leafy garlands or wreaths given at events like the Isthmanian Games. Symbolism, it says, represents the transient nature of worldly achievements, fame, and material success, which decay over time. It says contrast. It says Paul compares this in 1 Corinthians 9:25 to the incorruptible crown, an imperishable heavenly reward to motivate, Christians, all right, which ultimately are the Jews, all right, Israelites, to say they were called first Christians in Antioch, to strive for eternal rather than temporary goals, man. You see, all right, like I said, we want our glory with Yahweh Shai. That's going to be eternal, man. Let's get one more precept and call it. One of my favorites, Romans 2:7. Let me see. Shoot. Yeah, let's just get to the point. Romans 2. Start at 6. It says, he will pay back to each person. I'm going to AMP. Well, I'm going to go to KJV. It says, who will render to every man according to his deeds. To them, right, according to his deeds, all right, their acts that they perform on this side. To them who by patience, continuance, and well-doing, right? So those who come with these attributes, this is what they'll receive. To them who by patience, continuance, and well-doing seek for glory and honor and immortality, eternal life, right? We're going to have eternal glory, all right? That will never wither away. That will never, perish, man. Okay? You see, let's get verse 8. It says, but unto them that are continuous and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, indignation, and wrath, right? So those who come with those attributes, their reward is going to be indignation and wrath. Okay? Tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil, of the Jew first and also of the Gentile. Okay? So, and that comes with all different types of forms, being in the streets, okay, so on and so forth. It's all vain, man. The only thing that matters, the only crown we should be striving for is the crown that we will receive from Yahweh Shai, man. Okay? So, Lord, willing, this is edifying to whoever may receive it. We'll give all glory and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechak, Shalom.